Hello everyone, myself Engineer Amol Gadde, lecturer from the Department of Civil Engineering, Praveen Patil College of Diploma Engineering and Technology, Bhinder East. So guys, today I am going to give you a presentation on the chapter named as Sustainable Resource Management, which is chapter number 4 in your syllabus of Emerging Trends in Civil Engineering of 6th semester. So let us start with our chapter. The weightage of this chapter is 12 marks. So initially in this chapter we will talk about water resource management. What is water resource management? As we know, water is essential resource for all life on the planet. Of the water resources on earth, only 3% of its fresh water and 2/3 of fresh water is locked up in the ice cap and glaciers. Of the remaining 1%, a fifth is in remote, inaccessible areas, and much seasonal rainfall in monsoon, deluge, and flood cannot be easily used. As time advances, water is becoming scarcer, and having access to clean, safe drinking water is limited along the country. At present, only about 0.8% of all the world's fresh water is exploited by mankind in ever increasing demand for sanitation, drinking, manufacturing, leisure and agriculture. Due to the small percentage of water remaining optimizing, the fresh water we have left from natural resources has been a continuous difficulty in several locations worldwide. Water resource management is the activity of planning, developing, distributing and managing the optimum use of water resources. It is a subset of water cycle management. What is very essential for our survival? The field of water resource management will have to continue to adapt to the current and future issues facing the allocation of water. With the growing uncertainties of global climatic change and the long-term impact of management actions, the decision making will be even more difficult. It is likely that ongoing climate change will lead to situations that have not been encountered. As a result, alternative management strategies are sought for in order to avoid setbacks in the allocation of water resources. Ideally, water resource management planning has regard to all the competing demands of water and seeks to allocate water on the equitable basis to satisfy all users and demands. As with other resource management, this is rarely possible in practice. One of the biggest concerns for our water-based resources in the future is the sustainability of the current and even future water resource allocation. As water becomes scarcer, the importance of how it is managed grows vastly. Finding a balance between what is needed by humans and what is needed in the environment is an important step in the sustainability of water resources. So talking about techniques and principles, starting with sources of water. So there are mainly two sources of water. Very first one is surface sources and second one is subsurface sources. What are surface sources? It is further divided as streams, rivers, lakes, ponds, natural and artificial reservoirs, and subsurface resources are divided as springs, wells, infiltration galleries, infiltration wells, etc. So here are some factors which affect the selection of source of water. So starting with our factors, very first one is the source selected should provide water throughout the year to the city. The quantity of water available from the source selected should be adequate to meet the public demand. The water source selected should be cheap, and the last one is the quantity of water from source should be so as good to require any expensive treatment. Here are some important points of site selection for intake structure. The site should be near to the treatment plant for minimizing the cost of converging water. The site should provide maximum water from the source to the whole area. The site should not be located at the downstream or in the vicinity of disposal of the wastewater. The site should be such that at the velocity of flow the source is gentle. The site should be easily accessible and should be away from the effect of the flood. And the last one is the site should provide best quality in order to minimize the cost of purification of water. So talking about surface sources, so surface sources are known as ground sources also. Water can be easily stored naturally or artificially on the earth's surface in this system. So starting with various types of source, very first one is streams. Small streams joined to the river. The discharge of streams is more in rainy season than other season. Second one is river. River are the only sources of water which have maximum quantity of water and can be easily taken into water supply. Third is lake. Water from springs and streams flow downward basins and thus the lakes are formed. The lakes which are situated at high altitude contain mostly a pure water and can be used without any treatment. Fourth one is ponds. Ponds are depressions in plains in which water is collected during rainy season. Ponds are mostly found in small villages. And the last one is natural or artificial reservoirs. These reservoirs are used to supply water for irrigation facilities and for the community needs. Reservoirs also regulate the floods. As the water is stored in reservoir for a long time, suspended impurities in it settle down. Next one is subsurface sources. There are also known as underground sources. A portion of rainfall infiltrates in the ground and stored as subsurface water at hard stratum. It includes spring, which undergo underground water, which is reappears on the earth's surface in the forms of spring. Springs can supply very little quantity of water, so inadequate water supply. Second one is well. Vertical hole dug or drilled under the ground to tap the subsoil water is called as well. Wells may be shallow or deep. The wells must be dug minimum 20 meters away from the source of contamination. Third one is infiltration galleries. These are also called as porous pipe galleries. The groundwater existing in the large quantity over a wide area can be collected by laying porous pipe in the full area at some places. The pipes are laid in the slope such that they can bring the water where a well is constructed. The last one is infiltration wells. The shallow wells constructed under beds of river are called as infiltration wells. These are provided to increase the yield of well during summer. Moving further with springs. Springs are the outcomes of underground water which often appears as small water holes at river banks or foot of hills. There are two types of springs. First one is gravity spring. The underground water level rises and water outflows through the side of the natural valley or a depression is called as a gravity spring. The water table fluctuates regularly and the quantity of water in gravity springs becomes uncertain. The flow of water may be reduced to zero. Second one is artificial spring. These are the wells from which water flows automatically under pressure. This water can be stored in the water tanks. These are mostly found in hilly regions. Next, moving further to intakes. Intakes are the structure consisting the opening through which the raw water from river, lake and canal enters and carried up to a sump by means of pipes, and water from the sump well is then pumped to water treatment units through the rising mains. Intake are used to collect water from various sources. So there are various types of intake structure like lake intake, river intake, reservoir intake and canal intake. So starting with lake intake, this is the figure showing a lake intake. These intakes are constructed in the bed of the lake below the water level to collect water in a dry season also. It consists of a pipe laid in the bed of the river, one end of which is fitted with the bell mouth opening covered with mesh and protected by a concrete crib. The water is collected at the bank and flows under gravity in a sump well and then pumped to the water treatment plant. You can observe the same diagram for lake intake. Next type is river intake. It is a circular masonry tower of 4 to 7 meter diameter. It is constructed along the river bank at the place from where water can be drawn in required quantity. The various river intakes are wet intake, dry intake and movable intake. Here you can see the river intake has a tower well in which pump, a jack well, penstock is attached and two gates are there, one for high flood level and second one for low water level. Third one is reservoir intake. These are used to collect water from dam reservoirs. It consists of an intake tower constructed on the slope of the dam at the place where required quantity of water can be collected even in the dry season. Intake pipes are fixed at different levels inside the intake tower well. Here in this reservoir intake, valve room, footbridges, earth dam, output pipe, concrete wall, intake well, screens, intake pipes are included. Fourth one is canal intake. Canal intake is the structure constructed on the canal bank. It consists of a pipe placed in the brick masonry chamber constructed partly on the banks of the canal. The outlet pipe carries the water to the other side of canal bank from where water is taken to the water treatment plant. This is diagram of canal intake, which include valve control, fine screen, bell mouth inlet, outlet pipe, core screen and intake chamber. Next topic is storage of water. Service reservoir is constructed to furnish storage to meet the fluctuating demand and to serve as balancing tank to maintain the pressure during the hours of greatest demand. They meet emergency demand for existing fire and failure of pump. It allows the pump to work with normal rates and permit rest also. The storage is necessary if the hourly rate of peak demand exceeds the same pumping rate. The capacity of reservoir depend upon a number of factors as variation between maximum and minimum demands. Pumping capacity and the number of hours the pumps are designed to work and the standby arrangement. Generally, their capacity is equal to 3 to 12 hours supply of the water to the city. Service reservoirs should be located at the head of the distribution system, but the best site is the highest point in the district as regards the location. There are two types of service reservoir: ground service reservoir and elevated service reservoir. This type, which you can see in your diagram, is elevated service reservoir. This is mainly used to provide enough capacity for balancing and equalizing reserve, breakdown reserve and fire reserve, to provide necessary head for elevation, also that water will flow under gravity through the network of distribution system and water will reach the farthest consumer with sufficient pressure. Here is the working of elevated service reservoir. The distributing areas which are not covered by gravity system of distribution, these reservoirs are constructed over there. These are constructed at an elevation from ground level. This reservoir consists of an inlet pipe through which treated water enters to the tank. Water is collected and stored in the tank. Outlet pipe is provided for exit of water which is connected to the distribution system. Water flows under head equal to the height of the tank above ground level. Overflow pipe for the exit of water above supply is provided. Washout pipe is provided to remove the water during cleaning. Water level indicator, ventilators and manholes are also provided. Every pipe is provided with suitable valve. Ladder is provided to reach the top of the reservoir. It is located at the head of the distribution zone and it is located at the center of the area under its control in case of radial distribution. Now talking about hot and cold water supply system. Plastic pipes are widely used in domestic hot and cold water supply and central heating system. Their flexibility offers the benefit of ease handling and installation. They were available in both straight length and coils, which enables threading around obstructions and through joists, reducing the number of joints required and the potential for the leaks. Where joints are required, the extensive range of fittings available for each pipe system enables reliable watertight joints to be made quickly and easily. Cold water supply system, pipeworks carrying water for domestic purposes including drinking, washing and operation of sanitary appliances, and hot water supply system in which pipework carrying heated water for domestic purposes including washing. Hot water supply is the distribution of stored heated water to the consumer. The water can be heated using fuels such as coal, oil, gas, electricity, solar energy or nuclear energy. In brief, the hot water supply involves a process to produce hot water from the cold water supply by heating the water in airtight boiler, resistance to pressure and stored in the cylinder. Example of areas that use hot water are as follows. Very first one is medical, used in places for washing clothes, bed sheets, blankets and so on in order to remove germs. Used for the sterilization of medical equipment. Used in study and research testing room, medical laboratory and chemical laboratory. Second one is manufacturing, used in palm oil mill where the hot water is used to steam oil palm fruit. Used in textile and dyeing industries for dipping, drying and washing clothes. Using food canning industry for food preparation. Third use is residential, used for cooking, drinking water and cleaning. Used for laundry, used for heating the interior of the house in cold climate countries. Fourth use is in tourism, need in sauna, spa and guest room. Used for laundry, cleaning utensils in hotels, kitchen and food preparation. So here are water heating method. There are two water heating methods often used, namely electric power and solar energy. So talking about electric power, systems that use electricity for heating water comprise a cylinder in which appropriate equipment will heat the water. The cylinders are the common galvanized steel or copper cylinder. The cold water storage tank of the service pipe supply the cold water. The heater combines the water heater with hot water storage tank. The design is for use in large buildings. Second one is solar energy. The use of solar energy is just for an additional energy or as aid to heat the water. The use of solar energy together with electric heater. The cylinder gathers the hot water from the collectors before sending to the other heating tanks. The heating tank will reheat the water before sending to the user. It can save the cost of electricity, a high initial cost for using cylinder and tank. Direct hot water supply systems uses for using cylinder and using tank. So starting with using cylinder, when the water runs through it, it heats the water immediately and does not store the water. Its size is small, like water heater, and popular among users. It is equipped with a pressure switch. The function is to turn off the heating element when no water is passing through. Has the thermal cutout switch function as safety if the water exceeds the next heat level. Usually it connects directly to the main pipe of the cold water supply. Second one is using tank. Electricity or gas generates the system. Electric heater tank consists of a cylinder with the appropriate equipment to heat the water. The type of cylinder is the common galvanized steel or copper cylinder. The cold water storage tanks or the service pipe supplier the cold water. The heater combines the water heater with hot water storage tank. The design is used for in large building. Here is the concept of rainwater harvesting. In every building position, number of sizes of doors and windows should be in such a way that sufficient daylight free from glare comes from the right direction. Sufficient daylight should reach in each and every room of the building to create pleasing environment to work and to live. The designer should also keep in mind the lighting requirements with heat insulation of the building. The purpose of design on natural light is to tackle the problem of solar heating and glare to the interior building from direct sunlight. Design with excellent natural lighting or daylighting is important to gain comfort level for healthy environment. Even though the precipitation cycle may fluctuate from year to year and place to place, the rainwater's environmental advantage and purity over other water options makes it the first choice as a source of water. We all are dependent on rainwater as an only source of water on this planet. Collecting the rain that falls on the building roofs and using the same for various purposes is the simple concept. Since the rain we harvest is independent of any centralized system, we are promoting self-sufficiency or helping to tap this essential and precious resource. The collection of rainwater not only leads to conservation of water but also energy, since the energy not required to operate a centralized water system designed to treat and pump water over a vast surface area. Policymakers would have to reconsider present assumptions regarding impervious cover and consequent runoff management strategies when rainwater harvesting systems are installed. A compelling advantage of rainwater over the water sources is that it is one of the purest source of water available. Rainwater quality almost always exceeds that of ground or surface water as it does not come into primary water. The quality of rainwater is an overriding incentive for people to choose rainwater as their source or for specific uses such as watering houseplants and gardens. However, quality of rainwater can be influenced by characteristics of area where it falls, since localized industrial emissions affect its purity. Thus, rainwater falling in non-industrialized areas can be superior to that in city dominated by heavy industry or in agriculture regions where crop industry is present. Rainwater is soft water and can significantly reduce the quantity of detergents and soaps needed for cleaning as compared to the typical municipal water. In addition, soaps come and hardened deposit disappear and the need of water, often an expensive requirement for well water system, is eliminated. Water heaters and pipes will be free of deposits caused by hard water and will last longer. Rainwater's purity also makes it an attractive water source for certain industries for which pure water is a requirement. Thus, industries such as computer microchip manufacturing and photographic processing would certainly benefit from this source of water. For our water requirement, we entirely depend upon river, lake, and groundwater. However, rain is the ultimate source that feeds all these sources. Rainwater harvesting means to make optimum use of rainwater at the place where it falls, that is, conserve it and not allow to drain away and cause floods elsewhere. The rainwater harvesting may be defined as the techniques of collection and storage of rainwater at the surface or in subsurface aquifer before it is lost as surface runoff. So here first part of your fourth chapter is completed.